Today is Christmas Day. Swathes of people converge in Kegalle to obtain the anti-COVID-19 tonic from Dhammika Bandara. Government attention drawn towards lodging a complaint with the Basel Convention Office over agricultural waste imported to Sri Lanka. Minister of Ports engages in inspection tour of the Trincomalee port currently under development to assess its progress.
Good afternoon and welcome. This is lunchtime news on TV1 for the Newsfirst team. I'm Jamal Ratnayaka. Before we head into our bulletin in detail, we would like to wish all our viewers a Merry Christmas. Taking a look at our stories for this afternoon. Millions of Christians are engaged in Christmas celebrations across the world, including in Sri Lanka, to mark the birth of Jesus Christ. This year's celebrations have been subdued due to COVID-19. However, with social distancing and other restrictions coming into effect, Christians, who make up 2.1 billion of the global population, have been identified as the largest religious group in the world.
Pope Francis conducted the Mass of Christmas Eve at St. Peter's Basilica at the Vatican at 7:30 p.m. Vatican time. Millions of people were able to follow the ceremony through radio, television and the various means of social communications. The Italian government's 10 p.m. curfew prompted pastors to move up services, with midnight masses starting last evening in some churches as early as a couple of hours after dark. The attendance at the Mass, usually recorded in massive numbers, was restricted this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In his Christmas Day message, Pope Francis highlighted that the birth of Christ offers strength to the people at testing times. The birth of Jesus Christ was a gift from God, underlying all our strengths and weaknesses, stronger than all our past hurts and failures or our fears and concerns about the future. There is a great truth. We are beloved sons and daughters. God's love for us does not and never will depend on us. It is completely free love, pure grace. We often hear it said that the greatest joy in life is the birth of a child. It is something extraordinary and it changes everything. A child makes us feel loved but can also teach us how to love. The birth of Christ is the newness that enables us to be reborn each year and to find in Him the strength needed to face every trial. Devotees across the globe attended the Christmas Eve Mass with the use of online technology this year.
The main Christmas Mass in Sri Lanka was held under the patronage of Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, at the St. Sebastian's Church in Kandana at midnight last night. The Mass was held with limited public participation, adhering to health guidelines.
Meanwhile, masses were held in many churches in the island last night. The Christmas program of the Moratua St. Sebastian's Church was broadcasted live on Sirasa TV and TV1. The night service at St. Mary's Church in Dehiwala was also held in accordance with quarantine rules. Midnight Mass at St. Sebastian's Church, Katuneria, Puttalam was held in a grand manner. The night service at the Hatton Holy Cross Church was also held in accordance with quarantine rules. It was presided over by Father Newman Pereira. This was the manner in which the night service was held at St. Mary's Church in Badulla. A special Christmas Mass was held at the Kaluvalla Catholic Church in Galle at midnight last night. Special masses were held at the Baddegama Historical Christian Church in Galle this morning. Restoring religious harmony, the Mahasangha too arrived at the church and shared the joy of Christmas. A special service was held at Our Lady's National Shrine in Mathura last night. The Mass was held with participation of a limited number of people. A special Mass was also held at St. Mary's Church in Jaffna. A special service was held at St. Sylvester's Church at Tugalani Gambo last night. Masses were held at the Thiruriyandar Church in Kalmune as well. A service was also held last night at St. John Mary Vianney Church in Suryakanda Bulakkota, Kolonna Deniyaya.
Issuing a Christmas message, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says Christianity can be utilized to revive the economically, socially and culturally disrupted world in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic.
The President, in his Christmas message, said, Christmas is a noble religious event in the Christian calendar associated with the birth of Lord Jesus Christ, which inspires the devotion of millions of Christians in God around the world and second only to Easter. He said, Christmas exemplifies the noble values that make up the foundation of civilized human society, such as peace, love, kindness, coexistence and compassion that Lord Jesus Christ preached and demonstrated by practice. The head of state further said, from a social perspective, Christmas is also a joyous occasion for Christian families to get together, exchange gifts, forget enmity and renew bonds. President Rajapaksa expressed that the doctrine preached by Lord Jesus Christ encompasses a body of teachings that contributes to the perpetuation of the society. Issuing a Christmas message, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said that the message of peace and mercy should be confirmed in our hearts on this noble day. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa further said that Christmas is associated with a deep spirituality that seeks out the poor as well as the children and spends time with them spiritually. Leader of the opposition and the Samagi Jana Balavegaya, Sajith Premadasa, has also issued a Christmas message. He said, Christmas is the biggest holiday that celebrates the incarnation of God. It is considered a special tribute he paid to all human beings. Merry Christmas to all Christians in Sri Lanka and to Christians around the world. The opposition leader in his message noted, through humanity, Jesus taught us to respect all human beings and to understand nature and the environment as a whole.
Two areas in the Matara district were placed under isolation today. Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva, who is also the head of the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19, said Yonakapura East and Yonakapura West Grama Seva divisions in Dikwella, Matara were isolated.
In Matara, Dikwella area, the Yonakapura East and Yonakapura West will be isolated with immediate effect. The reason to isolate these two areas was due to the fact that we have found a small number of COVID-19 cases reported from these two areas, and we feel that with the behavior that we see as of now from the people of this area, and especially when the health authorities went to do the PCR testing, we have seen they have reluctant to come to do the PCR test and trying to avoid doing PCR tests like Ataluagama in Kalutara district, what we experienced a few weeks ago. So Ataluagama also had a similar situation where we started off with 4 COVID patients and went up to beyond 800. So we request the people who are living in Yonakapura East and the West, this is a precautionary measure that the government has taken in order to prevent a spread, not only within this Yonakapura East and West, but also, if not, it can even spread towards Matara or Tangol. So therefore, we kindly request the intelligent people of these two areas to cooperate with the health authorities in order to get the PCR test done and to clear yourself.
On to another headline-making story now. A large crowd had gathered near the house of Dhammika Bandara in Udukumbura Kegol today to obtain the anti-COVID-19 tonic.
According to our correspondent, 3-kilometer-long queues were formed from the residents of Dhammika Bandara. However, our correspondent said that the tonic was not distributed today. The police intervened to maintain social distancing between the people.
The government has decided to lodge a complaint at the office of the Basel Convention over the agricultural waste imported to Sri Lanka from Ukraine. The Minister of Environment, Mahinda Amaraweera, has advised the Secretary to the Ministry to take prompt action in this regard.
28 consignments of agricultural waste were seized by the Sri Lanka Customs yesterday. Issuing a communique regarding the matter, the Minister of Environment said importing agricultural waste from one country to another is strictly prohibited under the Basel Convention. The consignments had been imported to Sri Lanka under the guise of importing coriander seeds. The consignments had been sent by a Ukrainian corporation named Agronica Trade. The communique issued by the Ministry of Environment said that attention should be drawn to assess whether the Ukrainian corporation in question attempted to deceive the local importers. The Minister of Environment, Mahinda Amaraweera, has also advised the Central Environmental Authority to commence a probe into the consignees. The communique adds the minister had informed officials to expeditiously re-export the containers in question. 24 out of the 28 consignments containing agricultural waste are currently placed within the Colombo port, while 4 consignments are at the examination yard of the Sri Lanka Customs.
Minister of Ports and Shipping Rohit Abeyegurunwardena paid a visit to the Trincomalee port yesterday.
Secretary to the Ministry of Ports, UDC Jayalal, and several others were present at the event. During the visit, Minister Abeyegurunwardena had discussed expansions of the jetty of the port with the ministry officials. Discussions were also held regarding the illegal occupation of port lands by people.
A fire broke out at a factory manufacturing firecrackers in Kimbulapitiya, Katana last evening.
Our correspondent said that a fire had erupted at a storage of the factory. The entire building had been damaged in the blaze, along with a 3-wheeler parked near the facility. The cause of the fire has not been determined yet, and Katana police are conducting further investigations.
On to news from overseas. EU ambassadors are to receive a Christmas Day briefing on the post-Brexit trade deal reached with the United Kingdom.
EU Chief Negotiator Michael Barner will update the diplomats on agreements reached after months of fraught talks on fishing rights and business rules. The UK is set to exit EU trading rules on 31st of December, a year after officially leaving the 27-nation bloc. MPs are still waiting to see the full text of the free trade deal ahead of a vote in Parliament on the 30th of December. The European Parliament needs to ratify the deal, but it is unlikely to do so until the new year, meaning its application will formally be provisional until then.
I'm very pleased to tell you this afternoon that we have completed the biggest trade deal yet, worth £660 billion a year, a comprehensive Canada-style free trade deal between the UK and the EU. And we've also today resolved a question that has bedeviled our politics for decades. And it is up to us all together, as a newly and truly independent nation, to realise the immensity of this moment and to make the most of it.
A Mexican nurse became the first person in Latin America to receive a coronavirus jab when her country began its vaccination program yesterday.
Mexico has received an initial shipment of 3,000 doses of the US-German Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. The country has one of the highest pandemic death tolls in the world, behind only the US, Brazil and India. A short time later yesterday, Chile and Costa Rica also began administering Pfizer-BioNTech. Argentina also plans to start inoculations in the next few days, but has chosen the Russian-produced vaccine Sputnik V for its initial phase, with a delivery of 300,000 doses arriving in the capital, Buenos Aires, yesterday. Brazil, which has recorded the highest number of deaths in the region, is not due to start until mid-February, despite a recent surge in the number of cases.
The Queen will reflect on the hardships of the pandemic in her Christmas speech later, as she and the Duke of Edinburgh spend the day apart from their family. They will celebrate Christmas at Windsor Castle this year and not at Sandringham, as is their usual tradition.
The royal family usually spends the day together but will not visit each other this year because of restrictions. The Queen will also forego her usual church service and worship privately to avoid crowds, it is understood. The Queen, aged 94, and Prince Philip, aged 99, have been living at Windsor Castle during the pandemic with a small household staff.
Boxing Day test matches played after Christmas Day often have a special place in the hearts of cricketing fans across the world. Sri Lanka and South Africa will face each other among 3 Boxing Day test matches that are set to get underway from tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Boxing Day test match between Sri Lanka and South Africa is expected to draw the attention of cricketing fans in both countries. South Africa will go into the game sans 2 players who were withdrawn from the squad due to health issues. Foreign media reported that the players are in stable condition. Meanwhile, Sri Lankan test skipper Dimuth Karunaratne spoke to reporters during a media briefing yesterday.
I believe that our playing conditions will require the inclusion of more fast bowlers. We will play tomorrow's game at the Centurion. I think the wickets are pace friendly. The composition of both teams is at equal levels. My prediction is that it would be a tough contest between batsmen. The team with a better batting performance has a higher chance of winning the series. Suranga Lakmal is coping with a slight injury. We are not sure whether he would be fit to play the game, but the other fast bowlers are in good fitness. Kusal Janit has a good opportunity to play as an opener. We played without pressure during our last South African tour. We did not have senior players, but we had a young team that gave its 100% on the field. That contributed to our previous victory. The players have gelled together as well. I feel that it will be an important factor as far as winning is concerned. I have been stressing on that aspect this time as well. We may win or lose matches, but we hope to play good and competitive cricket always.
And with that, it's a wrap of lunchtime news on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Zaimal Ratnayaka. Take care, stay safe, and have a Merry Christmas Day.